Now in this poem, consider a few things. First off, what is the structure of this poem? How many stanzas are in this poem? You want to count each individual stanza to find out what we're dealing with here. How many stanzas? What's the rhyme scheme that Wordsworth is employing? If you look at the end of each line, what is the rhyme that he keeps repeating over and over again? Is it A, B, B, A? Is it A, B, A, B? How does he employ the rhyme scheme to create this type of poetry? Notice that he's got a series of organized rhythms. Strange fits of passion have I known, and I will dare to tell. Is that an iamb or is that a trochee? What's the structure we're dealing with? In his writing, he creates a poem that reads as though it were a song, as though it were a country song of some sort, very, very rustic, very simple almost. And I think that structure gives this poem the sense that we're dealing with something that's not trying to be, as we say, highfalutin or highbrow or intellectual. It's simply a song. And therefore there's an innocence or a rusticity to the poem. Notice also in this poem the main speaker is not an uninvolved speaker. He's involved very deeply in what's going on. At the start of the poem we have in the first stanza an introduction to what he's going to tell. It's here in the introduction, strange fits of passion have I known and I will dare to tell, that he outlines what he's going to say. And this is something which, as he points out, only the lovers, only those who have been in love can understand this poem. We have to see the whole poem in that context. If we haven't been in love, felt love for another human being, we won't understand why this poem is important. But if we have been in love, the poem takes on a great dimension to it. When we move into the poem proper, notice that the main speaker, something's happening to him. He's writing somewhere. And the rhythm of the poem mirrors that writing stance. When she I love looked every day. See, that it's almost like the riding beat, the jogging of the horse as he's going towards something is in the poem itself. And he frames the poem so at the very beginning he addresses the time period, remembering back to a time period when the person that he loves was still young. And consequently, what age is he? And the person that he loves is this Lucy character that we talked about earlier, Light. Consequently, in that first stanza, notice what time of night or day is it? And what does he see up in the sky? That moon that he sees is itself a form of light, but it's light that's almost the light of lovers, not the sun, which is the burning eye of heaven, but rather this light that evokes a romantic, in our own sense of the word, emotion or feeling. On this, he says, I looked at the moon as it was descending down behind the hills, and I quickened the pace of my horse. Why does he quicken the pace of his horse? These paths that he's gone down, as he said, are so dear to him. He's been down them several times. Why would he quicken his horse? He sees the moon descending, and he suddenly speeds up a bit, just a little bit. And then as he rides further towards the orchard plot in the next stanza and climbs a hill, the moon begins to go down behind Lucy's house, her cot, the place where she lives. And it's coming nearer and nearer to her house, as though it's sinking down. And you've got to imagine here for a minute, there's the dark horizon and the dark land, or the dark house, all black. Behind it is that blue of night, and the white moon descending down behind that blackness. What does that seem to describe? What does that mirror? What is Wordsworth actually trying to symbolize in that image of the moon, the beautiful moon descending down behind the black hill? Well, it becomes a little more clear as we move forward in the poem. He says, in these dreams, these sweet dreams, right? I slept and I was like in a dream in this riding up to her house. This whole image was like a dream to him. And yet all the while, he says, he kept his eyes on the descending moon. Notice he said that 3 times now. Moon descending, moon descending, moon descending. Why would that moon descending behind the black hill be so evocative? And it's here in the next stanza that he hurries up even further. right? He speeds his horse even further towards her cottage, and it's at that moment that the moon drops behind the hill, even as he almost gets a moment of panic, and the moon drops behind the hill. And then we get the kicker at the last bit, that he suddenly thinks to himself, what if I get to her cottage and she's dead? What if I get there and she's already gone? Lucy would be gone. The woman who I love best in all the world, the light of my life, is gone. What if that were the case? And at that moment, I realized the moon, light of the moon, is the Lucy dropping down into the grave, the dark earth. And what would it be like if she suddenly died? But notice here also that light is not just the light of the sky. Light is also the light that is the light of life, the sense that life is worth something. And if it drops down into the tomb, we've lost that sense. And all of a sudden, we are trapped in a world of total darkness. The poem is not just about a lover. It is symbolic of that whole sense that perhaps that light could leave our world.